let's talk to Zach Osterman with the IndyStar, and he covers the Hoosiers. Zach, it's good to see you. I went to Indiana, and believe it or not, they've never won 10 games. They've never been number 5 in the country. They've never been in a conversation for, frankly, a BCS playoff, any kind of anything. I don't ever remember them being that highly ranked as they head to Columbus for an absolutely huge game Saturday against the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I don't think I feel like maybe that 67 season they might have been ranked higher. There was a stretch there, and obviously I'm not old enough to remember it, where the AP only did a top 10, I think. And so I think they were in it and then out of it and then back in it, because if I'm not mistaken, that is the only other time in Indiana's history it's played a game and both teams were ranked in the top 5. So this is the first time it's ever happened in the regular season. The 67 Rose Bowl was obviously a postseason game, but the only other time it's happened in the history of the AP poll. I mean, as you say that, they'd never won 10 games in a season. This is obviously their best start to a season. This is, I feel like I've lost track of all of the sort of, firsts that I need to mention in every story I write. It's been that kind of year for Indiana.
So does Cignetti make more money than Woodson?
Cignetti makes more money now. I guess, he did already, if I'm not mistaken, and I'd have to go back and look at where the two contracts lined up after Woodson signed his extension. I'm assuming that that contract extension has gone into effect, but either way, the point is, if you think about it on a year-by-year basis, he actually makes more than any other Indiana University employee has ever made, and I believe any public state employee, because Jeff Brom didn't make this much money at Purdue either. So, obviously Notre Dame, I think, has paid coaches more, and that's a private institution, and we never know quite what those come out to. But I think he is the highest paid employee in the history of basically the state of Indiana.
Yeah, the Catholics are great at hiding things. They've always been fantastic. They should run all those scavenger hunts. So anyway, Indiana, do you think it's possible that it's become, it's pretty obvious the football team's better than the basketball team. The basketball team hasn't mattered forever. I went to a game there last year. I saw them beat North Carolina in February something in the freezing cold. That place was lit that night at Assembly Hall. Is it surreal for you to see this football team pass the basketball? Indiana has been a basketball school since before Christ. And I did 5 years with Bob Knight and the 87 national championship. I was there for all of that. I was there for Alford's career, all of it. And all I know is that football now has passed Indiana basketball.
No, it definitely feels that way. I tell people when they ask, this is a football town now. And I think I think we've seen kind of the opposite dynamic at times with Michigan, with Ohio State basketball, that, you sort of forget, these are, maybe they're fan bases that historically are more rooted in one sport than the other. But number one, they're fan bases that know how to be passionate about sports in general. Number two, most of these Big Ten schools, I saw the stat years ago, and I don't remember it perfectly, but it's something like 12 of the 15 largest living alumni bases in the country are the Big Ten, because they're all big state land grant schools. So Indiana's in the top 10. I think Indiana's 6th or 7th. The point is, there are literally hundreds of thousands of IU fans out there. So when you see 5,000-6,000 fans at the Rose Bowl for the UCLA game, when you see probably more, and I know that stadium is a little funky, but you probably see more IU fans in that pop-up stadium Northwestern has on the lake up in Evanston than Northwestern fans. You sort of, it reminds you that this is still a huge fan base. It is a fan base that knows how to be passionate about sports. And I've said this to people in conversation the last couple of weeks in particular. This season is obviously something remarkable, but Indiana fans have kind of had a decade of building up to this. They went to one bowl game from 1994 to 2014, and I think they had 2 or 3 5-win seasons in that stretch. Since 2015, across 3 different coaching tenures, if we count this as a bowl season, maybe it's a playoff season, maybe it's both, we'll see. Indiana's been to 5 bowl games under 3 different head coaches with 2 more 5 and 7 seasons. Now, I'm not trying to make Indiana out to be, some undervalued program. I don't know if I'm quite on board with Curt Cignetti when he calls it the sleeping giant, or the emerging superpower of college football. But the point is, I mean, Indiana fans have had some good teams to cheer for in the last 10 years. And this is not necessarily felt like the culmination of that, but maybe a lot of that learned behavior of 6-6 and then 8-4, learning to expect a little bit more from football, learning to invest a little bit more in football. And now all of that kind of coming to a head with, a season where Indiana gets 8 home games, which means it gets a ton of opportunities for sellouts. It's going to be the most sellouts since either 71 or 72 in a single season. You've seen a lot of IU fans on the road. Michigan State was basically just IU fans by the end of that game in Spartan Stadium. It's in a weird way, it's almost kind of built up a little bit. It's just that it took somebody to kind of come and just tear the dam down, and that's obviously what Curt Cignetti's done.
Now, I have so many years invested in Indiana and being there that I don't remember ever once. Not once have I ever seen that stadium full. And there always were seats up in the corners that were empty. Always. It was forever. And it's amazing to me seeing them play games with a sold-out Memorial Stadium. I can't even believe my own eyes. How can they go to Columbus? And I think, frankly, they'll still make the playoff. Or do you think they will with one loss if they were to lose this game? Because we believe that if they lose big, they won't be in the playoff. But if they keep it somewhere under 15 points and show that they can hang with Ohio State, that they're in.
Yeah, you don't want to create – if you're Indiana, you obviously don't want to put any kind of seed of doubt in the committee's mind. And the committee has been, pretty – I think it's fair to say the committee's been a believer in Indiana thus far. They've kept them steadily in the top 8. They've been top 5 the last 2 weeks. We've heard Ward Manuel, Michigan AD, who's the committee chair, has, even just kind of said stuff. He says it diplomatically, obviously, but he said stuff that more or less kind of comes across as we're maybe not as worried about strength of schedule as is widely perceived, that we're looking at other metrics like strength of record and things like that. I did, and I'm just looking over at my desk because I wrote this yesterday, but I pulled together the 10 times during the 14 playoff era that either a Power 5 conference team or Notre Dame, it happened once with Notre Dame, finished with 1 loss and didn't make the playoff. None of those teams finished lower than 7th in the playoff committee's final rankings. And obviously it's a blunt instrument. It doesn't exactly work this way, but if those had just been 12-team playoff years, all 10 of those teams would have made the playoff. Now, I understand the argument against Indiana from the strength of schedule perspective, and I understand that there are there's an extent to which I think, sometimes college football just has a little bit of difficulty allowing, teams to kind of come out of nowhere or teams to kind of rise above their station as fast as Indiana has. But if you go back and look at some of those teams, you see some strength of schedules in the 40s and the 50s.
Zach, great stuff. I love you. Awesome job. Enjoy the game Saturday in Columbus, my man.